I'm back. I'm out here trying to live my best life, and Instagram just cut me off. So don't worry, you didn't miss much. All I did was wait for these onions to saute, so there was a lot of waiting time. If you are cooking along, you're probably in the exact same place that I am. Onions are now sauteed. They are starting to get some color on them. And if you are tuning into the second part of this video, please check out the first part, the one that says Wild Rice and Mushroom Soup Part 1, so you can enjoy the entire experience. You will be lost if you try and start from here. The onions here are sauteed, our mushrooms are sauteed and waiting for greatness. We are going to add our carrots and our celery and our garlic, right? Well, I'll add my celery and carrots first. Let those cook, soften up a little bit. Oops. Oh, you get overboard. So I have a little bit of carrot and celery left over, and I just didn't use that because I put quite a bit of onion in there, and so I don't need, particularly the sweetness of the carrot. I use less of the carrot because I don't want too much sweetness. Well, the sweetness is actually pretty good in here, but this just feels right. Put the rest of the celery in there. And this also adds to the texture. So I cook my celery and carrot after my onion, because the cooked onion provides a lot of flavor in the soup, but I honestly like the celery and the carrot to have some texture, so it can provide just that texture, right? A little bit of that crunch, or a little bit of bite, right? A different bite, because we're gonna have a bunch of different things in here that all have different textures, and we love that. We're about that life. Okay, let's turn around here and let's see what we're doing on this side. So I have here my mushrooms that I've had soaking, and we've got mushroom water now, or mushroom juice, and the mushrooms themselves. I am going to, this is going to be the meatiest vegan soup you've ever had, and I just say meaty, but texture-wise, like I said, you cannot replace meat with mushrooms. Just not going to happen. I like to just cut these up, and we're going to add this to it. These are just shiitake mushrooms, but they just have a different texture because they are rehydrated. Right? So I can actually take a few of these, squeeze them out in your hands, and then I just chop them up. Squeeze them out because they are holding water in there, and you'll have water all over your cutting board. Who wants that? There's some wood in there too. I'm just gonna. My hands are clean. Make sure your hands are clean if you're cooking. I don't know if I need to tell anybody that, but just in case. This is like a mixture of mushrooms, and they are a little bit harder to cut, by the way. So I have like some dried, like shredded mushrooms, and also some dried whole mushrooms. And so I'm just I put them together just to save space in my cabinet, because I've got just a bunch of stuff. And I'm just going to roughly chop these things. Okay. My celery and carrot, they've got a little bit of color to them, so I'm going to add my garlic. Not color, but it's got a little bit of translucence to it. That's all it is. Okay, so when I add the garlic, that's going to continue to cook as we do this, but you don't want to keep it on the dry heat for too long. So I'm going to start my roux. So the roux requires what? We've already talked about this in the previous video. Oil and flour. So I'm going to add a little bit more oil. Just a little bit. Let me get a handy dandy tablespoon here. And I'm just going to add enough flour to kind of lightly coat the vegetables. Right? You don't want to have more flour than vegetables, right? And we got to let that cook. It's already smelling delicious. Okay, alright, so a little bit more. A little bit more. So that, oop, my bad. That was like 3 tablespoons of flour. But a good way if you have a different amount of vegetables, just enough to coat all your vegetables. You're going to let that cook a little bit. This is going to be a blonde roux, right? We're just cooking it slightly so it doesn't have a flour-like taste to it, or a raw flour taste to it. Okay. Wring them out. These carrots can be used for further, I don't know, just eat them. Carrots are good for you. They help your sight. Which is something I should definitely be eating then, because I am blind as a bat. I'm just also checking to make sure there's no wood or anything like that in these mushrooms as well. It's a little bit harder to tell because they were like shredded mushrooms whenever they're dry, but once they are soaked, you can tell a little bit better. Okay. Chop these up. Your veggies are, or your flour is a toasting. Okay. When you chop, you should always cut one direction and then turn it, and then cut in the other direction. And then if you feel like you want to chop it even more, just keep doing that. Rotate it again. These things are like surprisingly difficult to cut. Not difficult to cut, but then the texture, like, I feel like my knife is like literally bouncing back off of them. And that might be another sign, yet another sign that I need to cut my knife. Okay, so these are all cut. My flour is a toasting. Got some browning happening at the bottom. I'm going to add these mushrooms in as well. So they'll continue, just like we just soaked them in water to extract flavor, they're going to continue to impart flavor on our soup. Oh, this is my wine. I was about to pour this wine into the soup, but I'm actually going to pour wine into the soup, just not the one I'm drinking. Or not from the glass I'm drinking, it's the same wine. Okay, so it starts to smell a little bit toasty. Not too much, and you get a little bit of color at the bottom. That should only be as dark as like milk chocolate. At the bottom, not the flour. So I'm gonna add some wine to that. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot about our thyme. This soup is actually very similar to the corn chowder that we did because, yeah, it's a roux-based soup. It's got the same spices in there. It's just different vegetables, right? So I've got my dried thyme. Like I said, this is just fresh thyme, and because I don't use all the thyme when it's fresh, I don't need it. I just go ahead and let it air dry. Thyme can dry on its own as long as you like keep the container open, and you can give it like a little bit more help by putting it on paper towels so it can dry. And then once it's dry, you can use it for life. I don't know about for life, like it'll start to get stale after a while, but you can use it for a long time. And I'm just making sure I don't like put the stems in there. So I have like this is a bunch of them, so I just kind of pull in the direction of the leaves and agitate it until all the leaves come off. Make sure you stir in between, so because the wine just kind of made the flour into kind of like a batter, so you don't want to let any of that burn. Again, every time I use thyme, it just smells like Thanksgiving, and it makes me so happy that it's fall. I'm so happy that it's fall, y'all. You don't even understand. This non-air conditioned apartment just gets the best thing in the summertime. But I love my home. Let me not sound ungrateful. Okay, so my thyme is in there. My wine is in there. We are going to add the liquids. So I'm going to use this is just a tea strainer that I have, and I'm just going to use that to strain the mushroom juice. Oh, okay. Into the soup. Just in case there was any more, I don't know, stuff in there that wasn't mushrooms. And so I'm going to mix this before I add anything else. If you add more liquid now, you run the chance of you having like a lumpy soup, like from the flour, not from the vegetables. So mix, mix, mix. You can even use a whisk if you want. But this, like right now, it looks lumpy, but it's going to continue to absorb liquid, and you'll be able to mix it more and break down those lumps. Actually, there's not any lumps, so it's fine. But I just want to make sure I don't have any lumps before I add more liquid, okay? Exact same process as with the corn chowder. A roux-based soup. Just going around checking. All right, we're good. Okay, so to this, I'm going to add a can of coconut milk and a can of water. Or your vegetable stock, if you're using that. Look, there's like a piece of random mushroom stuff. Wow, I didn't realize how complicated mushrooms could be as far as the stuff in it. But they, you know, they grow in wood and stuff, so it's fine. So I'm just gonna fill this with water and add that to it. Stir this up and make sure you don't have any lumps. Make sure you're scraping the bottom, and make sure if you're scraping the bottom of your beautiful pot, your beautiful Dutch oven, that you are using a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula, not like metal. I don't use metal in these pots. In general, I did use a metal spatula to like pick up my mushrooms, but in general, no. It smells really good. So I can tell this is too thick right here. So that means if it's too thick, you need to add more liquid, right? And I say it's too thick because this is not the finished texture. This is the texture starting off, and we have to simmer this for like 20 minutes at least. So I'm gonna add one more can of water to it, and I'm gonna be simmering this with the top off, with the lid off, and it's going to thicken up. So this would be the texture you want when it finishes, but we're not finished, so. All that stuff that was stuck to the spoon, that's just like the fond from the bottom of the pot. All right, so let me tell you what you are missing. As in what steps are left. Ooh, excuse me, stovetop. So all you have to do now is you have to let this simmer for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes if you're feeling fancy. And after you do that, you're going to add your mushrooms. You're going to add your nutritional yeast. When you add that nutritional yeast, you're going to add it until it tastes savory enough for you, until it tastes good, right? I will have an actual recipe for this. So if you actually want the recipe for it, stay tuned, because this week I will have a freebie and I'll let you know how to get the free recipe for this if you want measurements. If not, then just go ahead and check out the video, cook with me, chat with me, and we'll have fun together. What else? Am I forgetting something? Oh, don't forget your wild mushrooms that you work so hard for, okay? So like I said, I'm gonna put those on like at the very end and then save some to like garnish and stuff because I'm fancy. And that's it. That's it. It's a very simple recipe and you will be seeing me eat it. Would you like to see me eat food and be mad at me because I'm eating something delicious while you're not? I hope you cooked it with me so that you don't have to feel that way. FOMO is a real problem in the United States, right? Over 50 Americans every second are crying because they missed out on something amazing. Don't be one of them, okay? All right, I'll see y'all soon, and bon appetit, enjoy, and I hope that you've cooked something amazing today. Bye.